Well, Google has done it. They have put together all the pieces that, at least in my opinion, make for just the best possible Chromebook experience. It's not a detachable, it's not a tablet, and it's not trying to be any of those things. But if you're looking for the absolute best Chromebook experience you can buy right now, this is 100% it. So spoiler alert, I love this Chromebook, but I want to spend this review telling you why. But before we get into all that, this video is brought to you by NordVPN, and they're the VPN of choice for millions of users, including users of things like the Pixelbook Go, because they work cross-platform, keeping your browsing secure and safe, whether you're on the go or at home. If you'd like to learn more about their service, head over to chromeunboxed.com/NordVPN today. All right, so let's start with the normal pieces we always do. Let's talk about build quality. There's no way I was prepared for the way this Chromebook feels in your hand. So we've got the magnesium alloy outside, and you've got the ribbed bottom. Those things are interesting, and it helps make it light. So it's only 2.3 pounds. It just, you forget it's in your bag. But it's not even those things that are the most engaging about this Chromebook. Really, it's the firmness of the frame and how thin this thing is. I mean, if we place like the Pixel 4 on top of it, I mean, you know how thin phones are these days. You can look and see in that shot how thin this device is, and yet there's never any wiggle, there's never any flex. The thing is completely firm, and it just is strange, honestly, for a device that's this thin and this light to feel this well built. I mean, it's something you need to pick up and hold for yourself to really fully understand. But apart from that, Google has done a great job of just creating these nice subtle curves all around it. There are no weird seams. There's no parts that feel out of place or not thought out. And overall, the way this thing presents itself, yes, it's simple and it's pretty straightforward and there's not a whole lot of bells and whistles, but I can't ask for anything more from a build quality standpoint than what the Pixelbook Go delivers. So let's move on to the screen. And that's the one part of this Chromebook that probably isn't the most like stellar standout thing on it. In general, it's a 1080p screen, it's IPS, it's got great viewing angles, it's over 300 nits in brightness. You know, it doesn't do anything out of the box. It's not extraordinary. There is a 4K model that comes on the top end $1,400 Pixelbook Go. It's not even available yet. We've not seen it. It could be brighter, and it's dubbed a molecular display like the Pixel Slate was. We don't know how good it's going to be. I have a hard time saying that you should go spend $1,400 to cram 4K pixels into a 13.3 inch screen. But hey, if you want to go do that, go for it. At this size of a screen, those pixels are pretty close together at this point. I just haven't had any thought whatsoever where I thought, oh man, I can really make out the pixels on this display. I don't like looking at it. It looks fuzzy. Any of those things. Like, the colors look great. It stands up outside pretty well. So I'm sure this was a spot where Google could save a little bit of money and still deliver a fantastic experience. Again, the screen isn't standout, but it's not something at all that has detracted from the use of this Chromebook at all. As we move on down to the keyboard section, the keyboard is as good as advertised, and Google's labeling these hush keys just like they did with the Pixel Slate. But imagine, if you would, the great keys, the clickiness and travel from the Pixelbook, kind of mush that together with the quietness of the Pixel Slate's keyboard, and you could kind of get a sense of what you're going to get when you open the Pixelbook Go up. And the typing experience is just phenomenal. I've loved every bit of it. And the click of the keys and the feel of them is tactile enough that it's reassuring as you're typing, but you're not reassuring to everybody else that you're typing, because as you go to type, that's all anybody else hears. Another perk with the keyboard is the way the backlighting works. I mean, a lot of people get bent out of shape about keyboard backlighting. I don't. Like, I don't mind if it bleeds around the keys a little bit. I kind of like the halo effect. This one has almost no bleed whatsoever. So as you bring that backlighting on the keys up, it's just the symbol or the letter on the key itself just kind of illuminates. And in dark places, it looks pretty sweet. And flanking that fantastic keyboard right beneath is a nice wide glass trackpad that does everything I wish for a good trackpad to do, and nothing more. The surface is smooth, nice glass, buttery feeling, just like the trackpad on the original Pixelbook. The click mechanism is a lot quieter and less like clunky than the original Pixelbook was. This one's got more of a subtle click to it, but it still feels just as good. You're assured that you've clicked it every time you've clicked it, and the thing doesn't build up oils. It's nice and wide. No bad things to say about this. It just works exactly like you would expect it to. So let's talk about some of the other holes in the chassis here, because this is a pretty seamless experience when you look at it. You've got speaker grills that flank either side of the keyboard, and then you've got only 2 inputs on both sides. So they're kind of stuck with the Pixelbook and Pixel Slate with I/O here. You're not getting a bunch of ports. You're getting 2 USB Type-C ports that can be used for charging, that can be used for audio, data transfer, any of those things. But if you don't have the proper peripherals that go with those, you are going to need some sort of dongle to, you know, connect things to it. I'm also glad to see that with the thin and light form factor here, they didn't make the decision like they did with the Pixel Slate to remove the headphone jack, because honestly, that's something we all like to have, and there's really no reason for them to remove it. Again, Google's done what they need to do in order to get users everything they need from an input standpoint. A spot though where I feel like Google didn't just do what they needed to do to achieve a good experience is in the speakers. Like, I feel like they went way over and above anything else they've ever done with speakers in a Chromebook. And there's no way for us to really show you exactly how good these speakers are. We put them up against a 15-inch MacBook Pro, and both of us, Joe behind the camera there, both of us kind of liked the sound of the Pixelbook Go versus, now the 15-inch MacBook Pro speakers were a bit louder, but the sound overall, like the quality of the sound, the clarity of the sound, the fullness of the sound, we really liked in the Pixelbook Go. And again, it's this engineering like marvel that they were able to get that kind of speaker into something so thin and light as this. And what the crazy part is, when you actually hold it in your hand and have that audio coming towards you, it almost doesn't make sense. It feels like they took an extra step here and said, you know what? One of the things we want this thing to do really well is have great speakers, great input methods, and a great build quality. And they've just absolutely nailed it on those things. So finally, we come to internals. And this is a place where when you're looking at a spec sheet for any Chromebook or any laptop, it's very easy to be a little bit deceived. So let me explain what I mean by that. If you go and look at the internals for this device, it's coming with an 8th gen Intel Core M or Core I chip. 8th gen. A lot of devices are shipping, and lots of Chromebooks are going to start shipping this fall with 10th gen stuff in them. So you'd be forgiven for thinking, hey, they're taking this premium device and putting old processors in it. What in the world are they thinking? Well, let me explain a little bit as to why I think Google chose to do this. First up, we've had a lot of great 8th gen devices. So think all the way back to this time last year. All the devices that have come out kind of in this last year have all been 8th gen. So Chrome OS has been very comfortable for a long time on 8th gen Intel hardware. Second, 8th gen Intel hardware works just fine. Like, there's no performance issues or performance gaps. Yeah, on paper, a 10th gen processor would be faster. I'm not saying it wouldn't. But would you really notice it? In day-to-day usage, would you actually notice the difference? Probably not. And remember that this is only a 1080p screen, so way less pixels than the Slate or the Pixelbook had to push around. It's only, you know, it's like 2 million pixels versus the, I think, 7 or 8 million pixels on those devices. And so there's less pixels to push around. The 8th gen processors work great. And oh, by the way, since they're not the latest ones, they cost a lot less to put in these devices. So again, Google has made a decision to say, you know what? We're not going to try to play the spec game war. We're trying to win when it comes to customer use and satisfaction. If you're looking at a spec sheet and thinking, oh, it's only got an 8th gen processor in it, I shouldn't get this, don't fool yourself into thinking that. This thing performs like a beast, tons of tabs, tons of apps open, everything you want to do from it, docked into a huge monitor that I have. Like, it hasn't had any issues whatsoever. So don't let performance be a thing or 8th gen processors be a thing that might turn you off from an otherwise amazing device. All right, so since we're talking about internals, we need to talk about all the variations you can purchase this particular Chromebook with. And there are 4 of them that Google offers. So starting with the base model, it comes with a Core M3, 8 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, and it's $649. You then step up to the Core i5 model, which is the one that we've been testing. It also comes with 8 gigs of RAM, doubles the storage to 128 gigs of storage, and brings your price up to $849. The next step up keeps the same Core i5 processor, doubles your RAM to 16 gigs of RAM, keeps 128 gigs of internal storage, bumps the price up to $999. And then you've got kind of like the ludicrous model that's not even out yet, so I don't even want to comment or tell you that you should even think about buying this one, but let's talk about the specs on it. Core i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage, and a 4K molecular display, whatever that means. We're not sure until we get our hands on it yet. And that's a device, honestly, for right now, even though it's coming soon and should be out probably by the end of November, I would think. I don't know that I could tell anybody to go and buy that. With as good as the $649 model is, it's gonna be hard to recommend that one. When we get our hands on it, we'll obviously do a kind of a separate little review about it. But what we're excited about with all of these variations is that the base variation is one that we can absolutely confirm is something you should go and pick up. Of the four, it's gonna be the easiest one to recommend. It's gonna be the easiest one for most people to go and buy. So I'm really happy that Google got a $649 Chromebook that's not just a stepping stool to other devices, but is one that you should actually consider purchasing. Battery performance is actually as good as Google said it was going to be, giving me about 10 to 12 hours of use between charges, and I can even top up really quickly in just about 20 minutes of charge, get another 2 hours of use because we have quick charge going on here. And all of this gets aided by the adaptive brightness that, even though there's not a setting for, behaves similar to what you see on Pixel phones, kind of learning your behaviors over time, and every time you log in, the brightness gets set based on the light around you. The hinge on this device is another thing we need to talk about, and because Google took the time to make sure and engineer the weight and everything with this particular Chromebook so well, it makes that one finger lift not just feel good, but actually be functional. So when you go walk up and you've got the thing in one hand and you need to go talk to somebody, you can just flip it up and get going. You sit down at a desk, you set it down, flip it up, you get going. It adds to the appeal of this device as a device that can kind of replace a tablet or a flippable or convertible kind of thing because, again, it's so easy and quick to get into. You sit down, you flip the thing open, you pop in your password. Yeah, password and PIN. Those things are required because there is no fingerprint scanner on this. So you can unlock it with your phone. As long as your phone's unlocked, it's one tap and you're into your device as long as it's paired up and stuff. Or you can set up a PIN that you can quickly punch in to get in a little bit quicker. I do miss the fingerprint scanner, but again, it hasn't been one of those things that's like detracted from the overall use case. It still feels so quick and so easy to flip the lid open and get in and pop in my PIN, or just click it if my phone's unlocked, that I think that that is another thing that Google did to just make the entire experience of using this Chromebook super cohesive. So there you have it, all the pieces of the Pixelbook Go all together, and trust me, they come together to make a cohesive whole Chromebook experience that is quite unmatched by anything else. Is it a convertible or a detachable or a tablet? No, this is the distilled Chromebook experience. And so if you need a tablet, if you need pen support, if you need those types of things out of your device, I'm not telling you this is the device for you that you need to go buy, but I want to put something in your mind to think about. Really consider whether or not you actually need a device that pops into two pieces. Consider whether you actually need a device that flips around. Some of you are going, yeah, I absolutely do for this thing or for that thing. Then for you all, maybe this isn't the right device for you specifically, but for most of you, you're probably thinking, well, I think I need those things, or I like the idea of those things, but in general, you probably don't need those things. And the reason I say that is because I've found by using this device, I don't really need those things. I don't use those things because with the lightness, the thinness, the firmness of this design, it is just made to be picked up and taken with you. So it becomes this kind of always on the go, always available, light, thin device that you can carry with you, that because of the fact that it's got a touch screen and stuff on it, it just doesn't make me think that I ever need a tablet with me anymore. I've got my phone, I've got my Chromebook, and I've kind of got everything I need between those two things. And I think that's where Google really nailed it with this thing. So if you've been on the fence and thinking, should I get this thing? Is it gonna be as good as promised? 100% it will be as good as promised. It's probably gonna be better than you even expect it to be, because as excited as we were about this device and as much as we knew going into it, this thing has still surprised me as the amount that I want to pick it up, the amount that I want to use it. I'll be honest with you, most devices come and go for me. I pick them up and I use them and I move on to the next thing. This is a device that I constantly want to find reasons to pick up and use. I think Google nailed it here. It is a great Chromebook, and I think a lot of you out there are gonna love using the Pixelbook Go. But guys, that's it for this one. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. Head down there and consider subscribing. And also, if you do subscribe, make sure and hit the notification bell so you're alerted when we make future videos, probably about this device, because there's a lot more to talk about with it as the months roll on. Until next time, we'll see you.